Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 389, Beyond the Sun.
Welcome, citizens of Meeple Nation. For the next 30 minutes, sit back and enjoy.
Meeple Nation Podcast is brought to you by GameToppersLLC.com. We're big fans, and if you want to know why, well, you should experience it and purchase one for yourself. I know that seems a little antithetical that I'm telling you to purchase it to find out how great it is. But don't worry, you will not be disappointed. Their products are top-notch. Check them out. GameToppersLLC.com.
Welcome to Meeple Nation. We are your humble hosts. I'm Andy Holliday.
I'm Nathan Howard.
I'm Dave Holliday.
I'm not that humble Logan Howard.
Lord Logan Howard.
Lord Logan Howard.
Some of us humble, not, and some of us not so humble.
Yeah. A little mix.
A little bit of a mix. Go check out our website, our MeepleNation.com. We have blogs there. We have all of our episodes that you can check out, our past episodes, and any and all of our future episodes will be on there. We have our bios that you can go in and read if you haven't already. Anyway, check us out, MeepleNation.com. We would love for you to jump on there.
This week we are discussing Beyond the Sun. Beyond the Sun is a 2 to 4 player game that plays in about 60 to 120 minutes. It is designed by Dennis Chan and it is released through Rio Grande Games. Beyond the Sun is a space civilization game in which players collectively decide the technological progress of humankind at the dawn of the spacefaring era, while competing against each other to be the best leading faction in an economic development, science, and galactic influence. The game is played over a variable number of rounds until a number of game-end achievements are collectively claimed by the players. The winner is the faction with the most victory points, which are obtained by researching technologies, improving their economic control, and colonizing systems, and also completing various other achievements and events throughout the game. On a turn, a player moves their action pawn to any empty action space, then takes that action. Then they conduct their progression phase, either producing ore, or gaining population, or trading one of those resources for more of the other. Finally, they can claim up to one achievement if possible. As players take action, they will research new technologies that come in 4 different levels. Level 1, 2, 3, and 4, oddly enough. Each technology is of one of 4 types. It's either going to be a scientific, economic, military, or commercial. And higher level technologies must match one of those types. So it's kind of a technology tree. Each card is going to have 2 options. Using these actions, they increase their military strength to jump to habitable exoplanetary systems, to colonize those systems, to boost their resource production, to develop android tech that allow growth without population, and more. This game came out in 2020. Dave and I have collectively played it 10 times together.
Was most of those digital?
Majority of those were digital. Played my copy twice.
Mm-hmm.
And then we played 8 times. We're on our 9th online game on Board Game Arena.
You know what that means? It means we like this game.
I like this game a lot.
First time we played in person. Was it all 4? I think it was all 4 of us.
Nope, Logan has not played.
Except for not Logan.
Only the humble players were allowed to participate.
Okay. But did we have a 4th player, though?
No, it was just the 3 of us.
Just the 3 of us. Okay. It's definitely different depending on player count. The number of achievements to end the game will vary depending on player counts.
The basic spacefaring actions, they will differ depending on the player count. I mean, they'll all be the same action.
Times they can be taken.
Yeah, how many times they can be taken. The cost for taking additional actions is different.
Right, so the basic spacefaring, these are the only 4 action spaces that you can take at the beginning of the game. One of those spots is the research action to develop a level 1 technology. You're going to put your little pawn on one of the available spaces next to the research action, and then you have to have an available population, which is just represented by dice. And this is kind of cool. So there's these little 6-sided dice, and they've got different things on the different sides of them. They come off of your player board, where they are organized in columns A, B, C, D, and E. You always remove them first from the leftmost column, which is A, When you gain a population, you only do that if you can gain from the column that has them. So at the beginning of the game, everybody has their A column uncovered and available to take pieces from. When you take the research action, you have to place one of your dice with the population side up on the technology that you want to research. To begin the game, there are 4 level 1 technologies that are available, and you always know what these are. These ones are face up. They're available. Everybody can see what they are. You decide which one you want to do. Put your thing there, and you adjust your board accordingly, like Nathan, like you were saying. Sometimes it's going to say gain an ore. It might let you increase the value of one of your ships flying around the system trying to locate and control different systems. One of the things that I really like in this game is technology tree. I don't know why it has always been something that I enjoy so much, but I really enjoy technology development when it's part of games.
I think that falls along the same lines, Dave, as far as anything with a skill tree you really like.
Yes.
So I think it essentially like having a skill tree in the game.
It's essentially like trying to collect it all.
Yes. Very good point, Logan.
Pokemon. Oh, I think you are right. On the board, the main board, you have those 4 technologies. To the right of those technologies, there are 6 level 2 technologies. And then to the right of those, there are 6 level 3 technologies. And then there are 3 level 4 technologies. Some of the technologies are going to, for example, some of the 3s are going to require 2 level 2s in order to discover them. There are little lines that connect so you can follow the tree and see, okay, I'm going to need these 2 level 2s to get to this 3. And then on the 4s, 2 of them require 3 level 3 technologies and one of them requires 2. I kind of like
2 of 3. These 2 each require 2 of 3. This one requires 2. Is that what you said? Did I correct you for nothing?
No, my mind was just blown because I have always waited until I've gotten the 3rd of those before trying to get the level 4.
You still win all the time. Now you're just going to win faster.
Yep. Nathan, you talked about the different... Maybe one of the things that I like least about this game, because it turns it into more of a race for the galaxy, is the end condition. Because I want to develop, like you pointed out, Andy Poop, typically I want to develop my skill tree, develop all my skills and everything else. In this, I want to get all of these tech. But this game, like you said, there are certain achievement cards, and there are several, and so it's random which ones will be in the game. Research a level 4 tech is one of the achievements, always. Another one that's always in there is colonize 4 systems. The first person to achieve those, they'll put one of their markers on there and they get 4 points for being the first to achieve that achievement. Second person will get 3 points. The third person will get 2, etc., etc.
And so on.
And so on, yes. So those 2 achievements are always in there. Then there are several more achievements that you will randomly select 2 from. To me, I feel like this rushes the game a little bit, but that's because I always feel like games are being rushed. That's the way that this one gets rushed for me. Quite often I want to achieve a lot of different things. For example, in a 2-player game, as soon as 3 discs are placed on the achievements, that triggers the game end. Generally not long enough for me, except for in those games where you don't achieve any and I get all 3.
Yeah, I want those games to end quick too. Each player starts off with 2 population dice, 1 level 1 ship at Sol, which is on the planetary board. Depending on the number of players and depending on where that player order is, you're going to start with 1 or 2 ore at the beginning of the game. Like you said, Dave, you start off with that column A. That column A will hold 4 dice. At the end of your turn, after you've moved your pawn, taken the action, colonize whatever that action is, you're going to take that action. And then you have the opportunity to produce either more population or produce ore or to do a conversion on that. At the bottom of each player board, 2 rows of discs. And you have to remove those discs and place them either onto planets or on your automation track, which is at the top of your board. And as you remove those discs, every other one that you remove increase either your population or your ore production. So it is essential that you move those discs off your production phase track. Ways to do that: there's a planetary board where you're going to go and you're going to try to explore planet. You get ships there. To colonize a system, you have to have your military strength has to equal the colonization threshold. So if a planet says it needs 3 colonies, your ships that are there need to be value of 3 or more. And so once you have any ship at a location, the planet is going to have, it's either going to have an ore production icon or a population icon. And so what that means is on your turn, if you are in control of that planet, you can take one of your discs off of your player board and put it onto that planet. It has to match the icon that's there, or if both of those icons happen to be there, then you can choose which icon you want to do. Again, you'll refer to your player board and say, okay, is this going to open up more of my columns so that I can produce more population? Is it going to increase my ore production so that I can increase more ore? Because you need both of those throughout the game to complete these actions. As you colonize one of these systems, then you will be able to take that and add it to your player pool, your tableau. If you colonize it, you also get to take an additional token off of your board and match it onto that board. So now that planet that you've colonized has actually freed up 2 of your discs instead of just the one when you were in control of it.
Also worth mentioning, when you do colonize it, those ships that you have there, those dice go back to your player board. When they're on your player board, one of the faces on the 6-sided die is just like a little chest, a resource chest. So it goes there, back on its resource face, and you fill in always from right to left. So it goes to the first empty spot, basically. And so you lose those ships, and so you're going to have less ability to maintain control at the other systems there on the planetary board. This mechanic, having these different ways of getting your discs off of there to increase your production, I really have liked in this game a lot. Like you mentioned, you can do it by gaining control of a system. You can then get an additional one by colonizing a system. Some of the technologies will give you an immediate bonus. It'll say immediately automate 1 food production, which will help potentially increase your population, or automate 1 ore production.
And that will allow you to clear those off of your board, again, getting you those resources. And as you go back and we talk about those technologies that you place, we talk about the 4 basic starfaring technologies. Then there are the level 1 technologies. Those 4 level 1 technologies, one's called advanced robotics, which will allow you to automate 1 of your ore production. And then it also gives you a bonus of adding ore to your supply. Once a player researches that location, they'll put 1 of their dice, convert 1 of their populations, and mark that location that they've researched, now have access to that technology. That tech in particular doesn't give you any other actions. The same with the advanced genetics, which will allow you to automate food production. Then it will also allow you to convert a supply cube to a population. The other 2, the terraforming and the narrow beam lasers, will provide any player who's researched that location with additional actions to choose from. When you research the terraforming, again, get to convert 1 of your supply cubes into a level 1 spaceship and put that into deep space. So if you go back to the planetary board, deep space is kind of located centrally in the middle of that board and will allow the player who owns that to jump, which is move 1 space to an adjacent location. Terraforming also opens up 2 new actions for the player who's researched that. One is to jump 4, which means I can now move my spaceship. Any combination, I can move 1 spaceship 4 times, 2 spaceships 2 times, 1 spaceship once, another one 3. Any combination, I can jump and move my ships. And I want to do that to try to take control of systems, have a presence in that system that gives me control of that system.
That is something that I feel like in our many plays of this game has been kind of key, is to, well, I will quite often try to go heavy on one strategy and then try to go heavy on another, right? Just to see. And that's one thing I think this game did really, really well. I don't think it has ever worked out to just try to control the skies and not worry about tech.
Absolutely.
Or vice versa, to just do tech and not worry about controlling the skies. And it really comes down to those discs on your player board. If you're not doing both of those things, you're not going to have enough of those spaces uncovered in order to grow your population or in order to ever get, more than 1 or 2 ore in a turn. By the end of the game, if you have all of your discs off of that personal player board, when you do ore production, you can gain 5 ore.
Now, the dynamics of that may change with player count, because if you have 2 players that are battling for control constantly, then maybe it will benefit you to go to heavy tech. I'm just going to stay out of that. You 2 fight. I'm going to go heavy on tech.
Right.
A 2-player game probably couldn't ignore one strategy for the other. You've got to diversify.
The little bit of area control that comes into that. If people are so concerned, then you can just separate yourself.
I know when we played, the 3 of us, I ended up winning that game, and I did very little on the spaceport. I did some on the spaceport, but I focused on tech more than anything. We need to play again so I can interact with the spaceport a little bit more.
This is a Dave and I only game.
Wow.
And I'm done.
You're not allowed to play. Why are you going to talk about it?
No, I think you're absolutely right. 9 of the 10 games that I've played have been with Dave and Dave alone. We don't necessarily breach that conflict of the 2 of us are fighting in the skies. You can run away with it in the technology.
But again, I don't think that is really going to be super possible, because you can only gain a few spots in the technologies where it increases your population, and you're going to run out of population cubes. Because every time you develop a new tech, you lose a cube. Once column A is empty, you haven't uncovered 2 of your food production discs. Column B isn't even something you can get to yet. It just really limits what you can do. And those bigger techs also cost more ore. So you also have to be removing those discs on your ore spaces.
Yeah, I think you're right. You can't just solely focus on that. I had to do some colonizing and everything else of the planets. But compared to what you and Nathan were doing, I really wasn't doing a whole lot. Now, I was more trying to go off of instead of going at it with a sledgehammer, trying to just grab as much as I could, I was more picking and choosing what I wanted, my production uncovered, and to try to focus on the end game goals.
Right.
The achievements, yeah.
Right.
One of the other things that I like about this, though, the technologies, they're just cards that go on the board. There's a spot for each of them. First level technologies, each one of them is a different color. The advanced robotics is blue, which is science. Terraforming is yellow. Yellow is commercial. Advanced genetics is green, which is economic. And then red, military, for the narrow beam lasers. But it's random where they end up. When you go to develop a level 2 tech, you have to choose the color based on the level 1 techs that lead to that location on the tree. So you may have to choose, this either has to be a green or a red, and it makes it different every time. Every time you're going to have a very, very different game.
When you go to those level 2s, the level 2s are going to have 2 options on it. As long as one of those options match the root color of the level 1 technology, you can play that. Level 2 kind of combines 2 different technologies to form a new technology.
Right. So, for example, if I choose yellow, I'm going to flip over cards until I find 2 of them that have yellow as one of the options there. Quite often, they are going to have more than one. So it'll be yellow and blue or yellow and red. I just keep flipping them over, and then the ones that I don't choose will just get shuffled back in or put on bottom or whatever. It just really provides for a lot of replayability.
As we've proven.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. That technology will then again go back to having a root ability. For example, we pulled out this card, Space-Time Anomaly Studies. It has to come from either a blue or yellow technology. On the level 3 card, it is required that it is a yellow technology again. One of those 2 options on the level 3 card has to be yellow. Each of these technologies that you gain, that you've researched, you get a victory point. So level 1s are worth 1 victory point. Level 2s are worth 2 victory points. Level 3s are worth 3 victory points. And then if you reach those level 4, those level 4s will have a variable victory point value. You research all that, then you get to that end score and you total up the score. Whoever has the most points is declared the winner. And I don't know when my hands are up, but apparently they are. The nice thing also is that the players do have advance in that basic one. And that advanced one does give you that asymmetrical power, where the basic one has that symmetrical power that everybody's identical.
One thing that we didn't really focus on a lot is as you automate, there are lots of opportunities to automate your discs throughout the game. When you're removing those discs from the ore production or the population production tracks, sometimes it's to put them on a system. You're given the opportunity to automate them. When you automate them, there's a track along the top of your board, the automation track. First couple of spots don't do anything, but then each spot is worth 1 point. And then at the end of that spot, I believe if you have 7 discs and then you go to get an 8th on there, the last disc on there gives you 2 points, and then each additional one that you would automate gives you another point. But that's just another area where you can score points is through that automation. One thing that I really enjoy about this game is all of these methods of scoring points are very viable. Because we've played games where I've been able to max out that automation track and gain a couple of bonus points for discs, extra discs there. Played games where, man, I've scored tons of points just off of technology. So many viable options. And it doesn't really seem like one of those games where it's like, oh, well, this guy's going to win because he's going this route.
Really enjoy the game. I look forward to playing it. I may not win the majority of those games, but that hasn't deterred me from wanting to play the game. I'm very much excited to play it time and time again. I recommend the game. I think it is something that is well worth your time. Logan, you're the only one here who hasn't played it. Has any of this excited you? Do you have an interest in playing this game? If we allowed you to play this game, Logan, would you play it?
Wow, I don't even know if I want to now that it's only being allowed to me. I like the idea of pursuing the technology tracks while balancing fighting for the skies. I'd be open to it. The downside is we have so many cool things, and if I'm too proud to play this game and we play a different game, sure.
I think you would like this. It's a game that you need to get to the table for sure. Andy, you only played the one time. What do you feel about it?
I am glad you bought this game because it's not a game I would have bought. I tend to judge a book by its cover when I'm buying games, and it is not a pretty game. It's really not. It is very plain Jane looking.
Absolutely true.
When we played it, I was very impressed, and I thought it was a ton of fun. I think the tech tree shines in this. I really do. The spacepord's cool. It's cooler now that you actually have the spaceport because you were missing that and you're...
I was missing several pieces, actually. I had to reach out to Rio Grande, and they actually sent those off real quick. It is nice to have all the pieces.
Yeah, it's funny because, Andy, when you said that, I remember when we were driving home after playing this, I was talking about the tech tree. And I thought, there aren't a lot of cards in the tech tree. I was afraid that the tech tree was just going to be boring, wasn't going to do enough for me. Definitely a significant stack, and it's been different every time. But I thought, real quick, it's going to get boring because you're just going to see those same texts come up over and over again. But I haven't felt that at all.
Yeah, I haven't either. So, Dave, you've lost this game 3 times out of the 10 times you've played.
Mm-hmm.
What makes this game shine for you?
A 70% win rate. I'm just kidding. I'm a joke.
I can respect that.
Like I said, it's the fact that you're not tied to one strategy to win it. The fact that you have to dabble. It really seems like you have to do a little bit of everything to have a chance. And like I said, that fear that I had at first that techs were just going to be old because tech is always a big thing that I want to do, that it was just going to get old really quickly. It didn't and hasn't still. And we've played it 10 times in the last, really, 3 months?
Close to that, yep. Well, excellent. That is Beyond the Sun. Hopefully we gave you a good feel for it. Dave and I very much enjoy the game. Both of us strongly suggest it.
If you found yourself sufficiently humbled, pick it up.
I'll allow it.
Until next time.
We'll see you in a galaxy beyond the sun.
As always, we want to thank you for listening.
Check out our website. We have all sorts of cool things there. Love those blogs. Get a deeper look into the writing side of Meeple Nation.
Join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. I look forward to seeing you there.
Follow us on Twitter, @Meeple Nation. We also have Instagram.
Under the same name. We also want to thank our sponsor, GameToppersLLC.com.
We love their product. They have so much goodness out there.
And we also want to thank Braden Detergent for our music.
Meeple Nation.
No pressure.
Is
You just got to introduce the episode.
that all I'm doing?
Yeah.
So, like, now?
Yeah. Go ahead and
Same
start.
time. Okay.
But make it your own.
Right.
So it's not like you're doing the
The
game top or
sponsorship.
something. Yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
you're doing the
I'm
sponsorship.
not doing the
It's-
sponsorship, so no worries then.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll do that next time.
Awesome.
Are you going to do this or what?
Meeple Nation podcast.
That was like unintentional, but it was so perfect timing.
Was it unintentional? I'm pretty sure it was
It was
intentional.
intentional.
Oh, ouch, my head.